Hello, hello. Welcome. I have a very exciting update for you guys. And I also have some things I need to talk to you guys about. So buckle in, I guess, and get ready. The first thing I wanted to tell you guys is you know how I get when I'm not scripted and focused. When I speak off the cuff, I tend to ramble and I'm like easily distracted. So for a video as important as this, I wanted to write down some bullet points just to make sure I don't forget to touch on something that is really important. So please stick with me, watch the whole video all the way through. And if you see me looking at something, I'm looking at my bullet points. So I hope that doesn't bother anybody. But I first want to start out by saying thank you so much to every single person here who is supporting my work and our documentary. Without your support, like I literally wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I've been doing. And I'm so grateful. It means the world to me that you guys, that you care about what I have to say, that you support my projects and the things that I want to work on and the stories that I want to tell. That just is so important. And I want to give some background information for people who may be newer here to my channel, who aren't really familiar with my story and what my project is that I'm working on, because we do have a lot of new people here. So I'll just give some background. I am an independent journalist and content creator, and I kind of tend to focus on stories that I feel are underreported and voices that are like not amplified. I try to give a platform to people who basically don't have a platform, or to give platform to a perspective that people aren't hearing. When major stories break, the mainstream media covers it, and they typically cover it from one side. I like to look at the other side. Maybe there's multiple sides. I like to dig a little deeper and present maybe the counter argument. In any case, when I started on this project, so I have zero experience as a filmmaker. I had no production company coming into this. Like when I first started on this, I was writing articles covering the case, like listening in and reporting on it in real time. Now, I was incredibly naive. After I interviewed Brandon, who is one of the gentlemen that was incarcerated for 18 months for something he didn't do and was then acquitted, so found not guilty. When he got out, I reached out to him to interview him, because again, I had been writing articles, I've been covering the case, and from talking to him, I realized there was so much about it that even I didn't know. And I, again, was somebody who was following it every single day and reporting on it. In many cases, I was almost transcribing word for word what was being discussed in the courtroom. So I was very naive starting this. I thought maybe my documentary, like when I first set out, I thought we were going to cover probably just the federal case. And you'll notice from the trailer doesn't really have any indication of the state case except one tiny clip. We thought we were just going to do that because that's 6 men that were involved in that, and there were 2 different trials. That's already quite a lot of information. And I interviewed Brandon. Brandon got me in touch with Adam and Barry, and then I interviewed Adam and Barry, and you guys, we cut the trailer after that, and you've seen it. You've seen the trailer, and I did not know what to expect. Like, first of all, I thought we're going to keep it to the federal case. I did not know that this project was going to become so massive and that it was going to expand so much. Like, again, when I first started out, I didn't know if any of the other guys wanted to be interviewed. I didn't know if they were going to be interested in participating in a project like this. And before you know it, I am working on this, and I'm now covering the federal case, the state case. The state cases were still ongoing. We had the first one in Jackson County. We had the second one. And so it just became something much bigger than I had initially anticipated when I first said, oh yeah, I'm going to make a documentary on this. I was not expecting it to turn into what it did, which was and is a massive project that requires a much higher production quality we had to expand to cover the state cases, and not just that, but to interviewing family, friends. I had to travel across the country, and every time I have to do something, I have to fundraise for it because we had no funding, we have no sponsors, we have no donors, except for you guys, except just my listeners who cared about this story, who cared about me and my work and wanted to help me because they understood my vision and wanting to tell this story, and they invested in that, and I appreciate it so much. But I will just tell you guys, like, I am struggling here with what God has placed on my shoulders, but I believe in this work. I believe in the film and the project, and I believe also that God has been guiding it. It sounds really goofy and hard to explain, but there are so many things that like lined up in almost like a synchronistic way where it's just so many times something has happened and I'm like, there's no way that just happened, and then it did, or it does, or you know, things have lined up that gotten me in touch with the right person at the right time. And so I really do feel like God has been guiding the project, and I have felt his presence throughout it, and I have faith that I will get this done. But I will say we are running low on two things: resources and time. This is a time sensitive project. Like, we are racing against the clock. We have the appeals coming up. Adam and Barry have their oral arguments for their appeals are scheduled just for next month. The weaponization committee may not be around, you know, next year even. And the documentary, without giving too much away of what you can expect in it, I will say there is part of it that involves the weaponization committee and is very, very time sensitive. So we're kind of like in a race against the clock to get this done in a timely manner, right? And with the resources we need to get it done at the right quality, it needs to be done at to get people interested in watching it, because people are not going to watch a poor quality, barely put together film. They're just not going to. It has to be high quality, and I'm talking like Netflix and HBO quality. These are films, these are documentaries, if you watch the credits, how many people do you see working on it? We're talking teams of people with millions, sometimes millions in funding in their budget. We have none of that. We have a tiny crew of less than 5 people, and you've seen what we've been able to raise. And when you look at the fundraiser and what we have been able to raise, it looks like a large amount, but that is not what is available to us currently. That is what we have been able to raise to date, and I've had to use those funds to travel to multiple states, and there's lots of things that we needed, right? You need memory cards, you need tripods, equipment. So something that I want to tell you guys is that the impact that this film is going to have, I think, is so important. I really don't see anyone else telling stories like this, and certainly not for these men. Like, nobody is helping these men. Nobody is telling their stories or giving them a voice and a platform to help raise awareness. It's pretty much only us. They don't have anywhere else to turn to, and no one else is helping their families. And I know this because some of the donations I've received, I put some money on their commissary sometimes. Sometimes I'll purchase them books. You guys are the ones who are doing all of that. Your support of the project is not just going to the project, but it also goes to things like that, to literally make a difference and an impact in these men's lives now. You know, when they need to have a winter jacket in there, or a pair of winter boots, or whatever. You guys are helping, and I greatly appreciate that. I mean, I'm under a lot of pressure. There are so many people counting on me to get this done. And I understand that people don't want to give to projects like this that take time, right, for the payoff, because people are so accustomed and they're so used to instant gratification. And I get it. When you go to a store and you buy something, you get to walk home with something, right? You have something to show for that. And I think that people, their concern is, oh, it's been an entire year, and They want to know what's the project of it, what is the status, because before people want to give again, they want to make sure their money is being spent wisely and appropriately. And I will show you guys, I'm going to show you guys what we've been able to do, and it's going to blow you all away. But a couple more things. I have decided to dedicate myself to something greater than myself, right? I've always been somebody that was like scared to ask for help. I care so much about this though. And I want to make a difference. And I know you guys do too. There's so many times where we're covering stories that are depressing and people are saying, well, we want to know solutions. We want to know what can we do to actually help and make an impact. This is something you can do to help these men, to help these families, but not just that, to help our country. Honestly, these are important stories that need to be told. These voices need to be heard. What they have to say, people need to hear. It is important. These families have been so impacted by this work, and these men have, like, you guys have given them hope again where they had none. And I'll just to give one example about that, and I don't want to dox anybody or anything like that. I'll just give a little information. Paul told me just recently that he got a letter from one of you, somebody who has supported the documentary, who is a fan of myself, my work, and who's listened to the story. This is a retired woman from Florida, and he said just hearing something like that made him cry, because these men are so isolated, they feel so hopeless, and they feel forgotten. They feel like there's nobody out there who cares about what happened to them. And, you know, this is for, I think, a lot of innocent people who are incarcerated. It really does feel like everything is stacked against you and that there's no one coming to help you, that nobody cares. And that's simply not true. There are people who care, who haven't forgotten these men, who continue to support this work and that continue to pray for them. And you don't know what one small thing, you don't know the huge impact that can have in somebody's life. Just getting a letter like that could help these guys who maybe they were contemplating some very dark things because they feel so hopeless. And getting something like that is like a ray of sunlight for them. Just knowing and hearing that there are people who care, who haven't forgotten, and who are trying their best to help with what little resources we have. Look, none of us have the resources to go do this stuff. It costs a lot of money to make an impact and to really make real change. And that is, I want to reiterate, like, what this film is going to do. It's going to have a major positive impact on these men, on their families, on people who are very desperate for good news. And just to give you a little idea of what our expenses are versus what we've been able to raise. Again, we had no production company. I had no experience. I've had to teach myself all of this as we go, not just how to make a documentary and how to film one and how to tell a story through film, learning how to write a script and an outline and all of these other things that I never knew how to do before. Part of it also is like learning how to get the resources for this. I've never had to ask people for help before, and it's super awkward and scary, but here I am humbling myself to ask you guys for help. But in any case, just to give you an idea of like the expenses. So we had just my small camera that I use here. This is a Nikon Z6. We used that initially for the first interview with Brandon, but we needed, once the project expanded in scope, we knew we were going to need higher quality stuff. So we needed a cinema camera. We got one that was $15,000. $15,000. We needed high quality lenses to tell the story. We're using Toyoeki anamorphics that are $25,000 each per lens. So that's $100,000 lens set a $15,000 cinema camera. My editor has so much footage. We're talking years of footage at this point. It's so much stuff that he has to edit. I have to pay thousands of dollars for him to pay him to edit this stuff. And by the way, he has a full-time job. Like, I don't have the ability to pay myself a salary, my cinematographer and videographer, my editor. I don't have the ability to just pay them a salary as they're doing this. So they're, donating their time in many cases, or they're doing it at a substantially discounted rate. And unfortunately, if we had more resources, my editor could take some time off of his full-time job to just focus on this and getting it out, because we want to get it out quickly, as quick as possible. But just giving people perspective, nobody is getting paid to do this. Like, what funds we're able to raise go directly to the cost of production for the film. It is not paying us for our time. For me, over an entire year, I've worked on this almost as much as a full-time job. It is a full-time job doing this. I have, there's so much, and I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not going to be paying myself a salary. What money is raised goes directly to the cost of filming, and it is so expensive. Like, this equipment, it costs money. It is not, these films don't just get made. They don't just magically get made. All of this stuff requires resources, equipment, money, time, effort. Like, it is a lot that goes into this. And so I just wanted to give people perspective. We've been able to raise around $20,000 to date, but our expenses has far exceeded what we have been able to raise. And my family has put most of that money into this. Like, that's just a fact. That's, again, not to mention things that happen. Like, one of our trips, we were so rushed because, again, our funding was so limited at that point. We had to go to 3 different states, and our traveling was so we had to go one place, and you're just rushing to get things done. We had at one point 3 different groups of people coming for an interview in one day. I mean, we're talking like, you're in a rush, okay? One thing that happened is a tripod broke. That was $800 to replace. Some of these memory cards are $500 a piece. That doesn't get into lighting, audio, software. Some of our computers can't even handle the amount of film and the quality of film that it is. This is like massive amounts of 4K footage. When you're trying to put all of that together on a timeline, or so you can start sorting it, as we're trying to do in post-production, you realize your old 2018 Lenovo gaming laptop doesn't work, doesn't cut it. Oh, so now I might have to buy a new computer, one that can handle this editing. Like, there's so many unforeseen expenses that goes into this. And, there's just, it's impossible to know going into it, like, everything that you're going to need. As you guys know, I'm learning as I go. And so I didn't know what I needed until I know. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So here I am, just to give you guys, now moving on to the actual update of where the progress is in our documentary. So as I said, this became a massive and long project, to the point where it is not going to be one documentary. This is going to have to be broken up into parts, like part 1, 2, 3, maybe even a part 4. So we're talking maybe episodic, so maybe 45 minutes in length per episode. And so as we've been in post-production, my editor told me I need more B-roll or we don't have a film. It is that simple. So I now have to make 2 more trips. I need to make 1 trip to Michigan, and I need to make a trip to South Carolina. It is so, like, or we can't do this. And so I'm trying to fundraise now for that, so I can do these trips now and get it out of the way. Otherwise, I just have to, it could take another 2 years to get this film done, and I know we don't want that. Okay, I'm excited though to show you the progress that we have been making and have made. So, because I know people are wondering, well, if I've already donated to this film, how do I know that my funds are going, to the actual film, and that there's something to show for it? And so I want to show you some stills here that I have from the documentary. These are all things we've done since that first interview with Brandon, since cutting the trailer. That's why that trailer itself, while it is fantastic, we're working on an updated trailer because it does not show the totality of everything we've done with our resources, all the places we've traveled, the people we've interviewed. This is Jada Morrison. That's Joe Morrison's wife. This is Eric Molitor. We've got multiple interviews with Eric as we follow him literally through the process of pre-trial, during his trial, after the trial. Like, it's so much that goes into this. And just to show you, look at the quality of this, though. This is cinematic. Like, we're talking, like I said, Netflix and HBO quality. The type of quality that typically requires teams of people and $1 million budgets, or at the very least, like $250,000 budgets, realistically, okay? Here's another image. Another thing that happened during the time that while we're filming the documentary, 3 more guys are acquitted. I'm traveling to be there for the verdict. I'm like, there's so many things that are happening. It's just crazy. And all of this, again, expands the scope of this. After these last 3 guys were acquitted, they're actually given the Courage Under Fire Awards. And we're traveling, and it's in the documentary. You're going to be seeing that. And I don't want to give too much away, as I said. But just look at how beautiful and stunning. These are still images from different shoots we've done, different parts of the film. So again, without giving too much away, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the eyes through the reflection in the rear view mirror, which I think is just so cool. How about that? We're talking amazing quality stuff, like the kind of quality you would expect from a high production value. And just look where he is. Oh yes, film. Okay, so that's about it as far as that goes. I'm so excited, guys. I really want you to have an idea. I don't want to give things away because I want people to still watch the documentary, but I wanted you to see that's where your donations have gone, is to make that. You can see the quality of those still images, and you can see that it's going to be an amazing film. So I'm asking you to please consider giving. And this is not for me, like, I'm not asking you to pay off my mortgage or something. But this is for important work that is going to help good people. So I'm asking you to consider making a small gift to contribute to the film. The reality is, if each person listening was able to give just $5 or $10, we could knock the rest of this out. I could do my last 2 trips, and then we can move back into editing and post-production. I understand that everybody is struggling right now. We all are. That goes for me too, and my family. But like I said, I think a lot of people feel like if they can't donate like $50 or whatever, that they feel like, oh, I might as well not bother, because they think it won't make a difference or an impact if they do a small donation. That could not be further from the truth. This entire film has been made through small donations. Even if you can only give $1, $2, $3, $5, all of that helps. Like I said, there's probably 13,000 subscribers on my main YouTube channel. If every single one of you guys that listened, every single one of those subscribers donated just $2 or $5, we could get this thing done. The reality is, though, is that that won't happen because of the bystander effect of everybody just assumes that somebody else will do it. Or they look at the number on my fundraiser on the Give, Send, Go, and they think, oh, they've already raised so much. And it looks like a big number. But like I said, that does not even begin to cover the expenses we've had. That doesn't even pay for my editor and the cinema camera, let alone everything else, all of the other expenses we've had. So I know it looks like a lot, but it goes very quickly. You know, on a project like this, it's very expensive to make films like this. That is why, by the way, there's not a ton of them like this out there. It's because they're so difficult to make and they're so expensive. And let's just face it, it is a fact that if you want to change the world, it costs money to do so. It doesn't just happen because of positive thoughts and atta girl, you know, a pat on the back, which I do. You know, I love your words of encouragement and I love your prayers, but we need more than that. Like, it actually costs money and we need resources to do this. Projects like this that create something of value, that improve and impact the lives of others, they do require the resources. And this is something that you're going to be able to show people that you had the opportunity to like make history and be part of this project. This is not just my film. This is your film, all of us. Every single person that has supported the project, that has donated to it, you are making this happen. That is something, you know, because everybody says, what can I do? What can I do to help? That right there is something. That's something you can do that will literally help people. And people spend money and blow money on stupid things all the time. If you gave up one coffee from Starbucks or something, one $5 coffee, and instead supported this film, you could do something that small and it would make a huge impact, though, for the project. And, you know, unfortunately, this is another thing to think about. Every day, great projects and great ideas die because they don't have and they don't get the capital they need to get it off the ground. So all of that work, all of the blood, sweat, tears, the labor, the vision, it all gets thrown out if you can't pay the bills. That's just the reality of it. Real change requires resources. Real people do this work and they need resources to make it happen. And I know that it's difficult, right? Because everybody is struggling and you don't see that immediate payoff. It could take another 6 months after we do our last 2 trips to get the final B-roll footage that we need and one final interview, or again, we don't have a documentary. It could take another 6 months to go through the editing to get part 1 out. And so I know it's hard to justify donating to something that doesn't have an immediate instant gratification return on your investment. But I'm telling you that the impact that you're going to make on these men, on their lives, their families' lives, that is going to be priceless. And it's going to last forever. This documentary, once it's completed, it will be out there for everyone to share, everyone to show their family, their friends, and it will be out there also to change the conversation about things like this. You know, when people say, what can we do about FBI corruption, about government corruption and all these things, and they get the wrong idea of what is the most effective thing to do, it's not just complaining about it online, believe it or not. It is actually supporting projects like this that help raise awareness and bring sunlight to what is a very dark subject. So anyways, that is all I have. This was a long video, much longer than I anticipated. I did want to give you guys an update. I know, look, I'm not the best at letting people know what the status of things are as I'm going, because so much of my time is spent working. I don't always have the time to give people periodic updates and stuff, but I can tell you that Many trips have been made, lots of work has gotten done. You just haven't seen it yet. Well, you've seen now some of the still images. You've gotten a little hint at what we're doing, but there's so much work that I'm so proud of that I cannot wait to share with you guys. I can't wait to watch it once it's fully completed myself, to be honest. So anyways, like I said, anything you can do to support it would be greatly, greatly appreciated, to support the project, to support me and my work. It means so much to me. You guys are the best, and I am so grateful, and I know these men are too. And unfortunately, they can't tell you that themselves right now, but I can tell you from my speaking to them, they are. And that's it. Have a good day. Oh, one more thing before I sign off. This would be helpful. Telling people where they can go to support the film. So you just saw the update on the progress we have made in just 1 year, which, by the way, if I'm not tooting my own horn, for a small team of less than 5 people with very, very limited resources, I think we've made incredible and tremendous progress. Just look at the interviews we've done. We've done so many media appearances talking about promoting the film. I've added a Write to the Guys section here to the website if you want to write letters to the guys. I know that they would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I've got instructions here on how to do that. I know Joe would love to hear from you. Paul would love to hear from you. Pete, Barry, Adam, all of these men would love to get a letter. Just something to help, honestly, it helps lift their spirits, which is super important. Then if you go to knkfilm.com/donate and go all the way down to the bottom, there is a link here. You can donate anonymously to the documentary at our Give, Send, Go fundraiser, which I'll just pull it up here from the website, is here. You can see the campaign for the documentary, and you can donate there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I hope that, I do want to know if anybody has any questions about the documentary. Let me know if you think it might be a good idea to do some documentary funding live streams. We could do a live stream to try to help encourage documentary fundraising. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how to fundraise. I just am learning as we go. But I want to hear from you guys. What would you like? Would you guys like me to do something like that where I can answer your questions? If you have questions about the film, the process, the story, we could do something like that. Let me know if that's something you want. Do you want me to do a funding live stream, a documentary funding live stream? We can do that. A live stream fundraiser for the documentary. We can do it here on my YouTube channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and that's it. I hope you all have a good day. Bye.